let's get on with some more news. West of U.S. Highway 301 in Wildwood has become one of the growing city's latest development hotbeds. Commissioners Monday night approved 2 residential developments in the area while postponing consideration of 2 others. A comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning of high-density residential were approved for Commander's Point, located near the southwest corner of County Road 466 and 209 in Oxford, where up to 639 dwelling units are planned on about 43 acres. The project includes 5 acres of commercial use and is expected to add 179 students to Wildwood schools. Commissioners also approved a plan amendment and rezoning from agricultural to medium-density residential for Tillman Villas, which will include 150 townhomes on about 20 acres near County Road 209 and 462 west of US 301. A man has been sentenced in a gun-related incident at Spanish Springs Town Square. Dante Tremaine Albert, 26, of Leesburg, was placed on 6 months probation, ordered to perform 40 hours of community service, and must provide 2 clean urine screens 30 days apart, according to Lake County Court records. The sentence was handed down earlier this month. He was arrested April 2nd after police found 3 men arguing in the parking lot behind Margarita Republic. Albert was armed with a gun and fled on foot toward Page Place, according to the arrest report. An officer in patrol car chased Albert as he rounded the corner near the properties of the village's sales center and headed back toward Margarita Republic. The officer chased Albert and shouted at him to drop the gun. As the officer grew near Albert at Kilwin's ice cream shop, the officer was able to visually confirm that Albert was carrying a black semi-automatic firearm in the left hand. Albert denied being in possession of a weapon. He had 2 credit cards, cash, 1.224 ounces of marijuana. You never know who's going to be out there at the squares. A woman who crashed into a Cadillac near the village's golf cars at Brownwood has been sentenced on a charge of driving under the influence. Sharon Denise Bryan, 58, of Ocala, will lose her driver's license for 1 year after pleading no contest earlier this month in Sumter County Court to a charge of driving under the influence. She has also been placed on probation for 1 year. She previously has been convicted in 2018 in Marion County on a charge of driving under the influence. A witness was watching on September 9 as Bryan's black 2021 Chevrolet crashed into a Cadillac at Brownwood. The witness also told police that bystanders had to help Bryan out of her car because she could not get out on her own. She struggled through field sobriety exercises and refused to provide breath samples. A husband fears more courtroom delay tactics by a villager whose Mercedes severely injured his wife in 2020. Marilyn Hamilton, who turned 91 this week, was at the wheel of a white Mercedes on October 30th, 2020, when she hit Village of Dunedin resident Jessica Laub and Robert Hunter, who had been riding on Morris Boulevard. Hamilton remains free on bond, though her driving privileges have been suspended because she allegedly fled the scene. Bob, an experienced cyclist who is a member of the Sumter Landing Bike Club, was airlifted to Ocala Regional Medical Center, where she remained in an intensive care unit for 30 days. She suffered 17 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, paralyzed vocal cord, broken arm, broken wrist, torn finger tendons and ligaments, a brain injury. Hunter was also injured, but his wife, who was following him, suffered the greatest impact from the Mercedes. This lady, when she hit him, the end of the story is she got out of her car, walked back, saw the crushed bicycles, the people laying there. She got back in her Mercedes, went home, called a wrecker, had her Mercedes towed to Gainesville to a Mercedes dealership up there to be repaired, and that's how they caught her. A woman nabbed earlier this year with an alleged drug-dealing ledger has been jailed on multiple probation violation warrants. Kimberly Sue Varnum, 42, who formerly lived in Weirsdale, is now listed and addressed in the Villages, was being held without bond over the weekend at the Marion County Jail on multiple violations and probation violations out of Lake County. The warrants were issued in August. Varnum's Lake County court file noted that in July her phone was was not able to receive calls. She has been placed on drug offender probation for 3 years in June. Farnham had been a passenger in a gold Kia van that was pulled over this past January at Dixie Avenue and Miller Boulevard in Fruitland Park. The van had a license plate that had been assigned to another vehicle. The driver claimed the van belonged to his father-in-law, and he had no idea about the registration problem. A K-9 unit was summoned to the scene, and the dog alerted on the vehicle, signaling the likelihood of presence of drugs. A search of the van turned up a blue duffel bag and a red backpack. The items contained fentanyl, methamphetamine, alprazolam, and syringes. Also found in the backpack was a notebook and several bills of U.S. currency. The notebook had a page which listed debts along with slang terms for drugs. Warren told police she only sells to friends. Well, that makes it okay. Letter to the editor. Utilizing trolleys from remote parking areas to the squares is the best idea for eliminating parking woes. Also limit vehicle traffic in the squares from 5 to 9 and allow restaurants to assemble tables in the surrounding parking spots. That is sent in by Nicholas Camarano from the village of Pennycamp. Interesting idea. A habitual offender living with his mother in the villages has landed back behind bars. Brian Mark Brazowski, 47, who lives with his mother at 1905 Davidson Avenue in the village of Winifred, was driving a white truck pulling a trailer at 8:43 a.m. Friday on Rolling Acres Road at County Road 466, according to the arrest report. A check of the trailer's license plate showed it was registered to Kawasowski's mother. A police officer is familiar with both the mother and Kawasowski, whom he arrested in 2021 for driving while license suspended and several drug possession charges. Kawasowski has a long history of arrests. During the traffic stop, the officer confirmed that Kawasowski's license has not been reinstated. The report noted that a passenger with a valid license was riding in the vehicle. The truck and trailer were towed from the scene, and the inventory of the truck turned up a potentially full bottle of rum and an open can of beer, still cold to the touch, at 8:43 a.m. Kawasowski was taken into custody and booked at Lake County Jail on a $5,000 bond. A hit-and-run suspect has been tracked down thanks to a camera at the Morris Gate in the Villages. A man driving a pest control truck reported that he had been rear-ended on October 8 when he stopped to yield to golf carts when passing through the gate at Morris Boulevard in County Road 466. He said the silver SUV that hit his vehicle quickly fled the scene. The incident was captured on video at the gate. The video led to the identification of 33-year-old Brandy Nicole Robertson of Oxford Oaks as a suspect. A deputy went to Robertson's home on Sunday and spoke to her grandfather. He said Robertson was at work at the Wendy's restaurant on 301 in Oxford. A deputy arrived at the restaurant and spotted Robertson's vehicle. When the deputy spoke to the restaurant's manager, she admitted that Robertson was hiding in the back room. In addition, illicit drugs were found during the inventory of Robertson's vehicle. She was arrested on charges of leaving the scene of an accident and drug possession. She was booked at Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $7,000 bond. A 72-year-old villager was arrested after an apparent showdown at a local car dealership. Linda Lincoln, who lives on the historic side of the Villages, was arrested at 7:35 p.m. Tuesday at Bill Bryan Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on U.S. Highway 27441 in Fruitland Park. Officers were called to the dealership after Lincoln refused to leave, according to the arrest report. Police found Lincoln under an awning with several dealership workers and several vehicles. Dealership representatives indicated they wanted Lincoln removed from the premises. He said she was not going anywhere and that she would have to be arrested. She was told numerous times to leave the dealership, but adamantly refused to obey. She finally put her hands out in front of her, indicating she was ready to be handcuffed. Well, I'm sure they would be glad to do that. They just don't want to. I don't know where people get off anymore, thinking they can just tell people what to do on their private property and stuff. She was taken into custody and charged with trespassing and booked at the Lake County Jail. She was released after posting a $1,000 bond. At possibly their last meeting, 2 outgoing Sumter County commissioners weigh in on plans to create a historic district for Wildwood's black community of Royale. Let me just give you my little opinion about this. You know, they're always talking about stopping all this building going on around here because they say, well, one, you shouldn't do it because it's going to put a big strain on our underground water system, the aquifers and everything. If you keep taking this water out, it's going to cause more and more sinkholes. And I've said before, that don't work. It's not going to work to stop this. They have to think about the money. More houses, more tax dollars. Wildwood takes this money and they do what they want to with it. And that's what it's about. Just that. And then they say, well, it's going to create more traffic on these roads, and it's going to be more dangerous to travel on these roads. It's going to cause a lot of deterioration on the roads. All that's true. It doesn't stop construction, and it's not going to. Whoever came up with this idea of Royal, and if you don't know anything about Royal, you really need to Google this town. This person, whoever it is, I want to give you a pat on the back. This is ingenious to do this. This is going to change everything, and the commissioners at Wildwood aren't going to be able to push you around the way they want to do it. If you get this done, it's just incredibly smart, and I applaud you for it, and I hope you do get it done. Commissioners Gary Breeden and Doug Gilpin criticized the proposed 5-square-mile boundary of the historic district and said it would be voluntary for property owners to be included. They will be replaced on November 22nd and are not expected to attend the November 8th meeting. Properties included in a historic district are restricted in how they can be developed. If state officials recommend the district, the plan moves to the federal government for final consideration. The Royal community was created shortly after the Civil War. The newly freed slaves were given 40 acres and a mule by the federal government. Some families have lived for generations on those homesteads, but the proposal rural district includes farmers, and the area around Royal has been under development pressure. Earlier this year, residents fought a proposed extension of the Florida Turnpike that could run through Royal. After opposition by several counties, the Florida Department of Transportation put a hold on the project. Nearly 50 years ago, the Royal community was bisected by construction of Interstate 75. Catherine Dearliarnadis of the village of Pinellas got her first hole-in-one on Sunday, October 23rd, on hole number 4 at Mangrove Executive Golf Course. Congratulations there, Catherine, on your first hole-in-one. Mangrove, by the way, is a very waterlogged golf course, executive course, and next to Pelican, I think it's really one of the most difficult. Letter to the editor. I read the lengthy and thoughtful letter published this week about the solution to the anonymous complaint system. It involved requiring a filing fee for each complaint, but retaining the anonymity of the system. In the end, however, the writer injected an element of personal subjectivity as to which violations he would be willing to pay to have enforced. Any plan with a subjectivity element is subject to discriminatory enforcement. Frankly, there's a much simpler solution. Follow the rules and covenants you agreed to when you purchased the property. Just because you want to do something doesn't give you the right to do it. And be mindful of the fact that your taste in decorations is not universally shared. If this issue is dividing the community, fault does not lie in the structure of the complaint system. Fault lies with the people who think rules don't apply to them. And that's sent in by James Olds, Village of Rio Grande. I can't agree more. You pickleball players are going to really want to listen up on this one. A major indoor pickleball complex will be constructed within the villages. The Pickleball Club LLC has entered into a purchase agreement on a 4.69 acre parcel at 11750 Northeast 62nd Terrace, which is located near the Hampton Inn on County Road 466 across from Laurel Manor Recreation Center. The complex will feature 16 courts inside a 40,773 square foot building. The property where the pickleball will be built is not located within the villages and most likely will not be golf cart accessible. Oh, that's just the opposite of what I was told. Oh well, sometimes you get right information, sometimes you don't. However, the property is completely encircled by the villages. The Pickleball Club is acquiring sites and plans to build at least 15 indoor private pickleball clubs throughout Florida to the tune of about $180 million. One of the pickleball facilities will be located at Lakewood Ranch near Sarasota. Lakewood Ranch is rival to the Villages in-home sales, only in-home sales. I just want to make that clear. It is not a retirement community. The pickleball club has indicated it will invest $1 million in technology at each location, including real-time video clinics and platforms for reservations, rankings, and pairings. A villager is facing a charge of driving under the influence after a crash in a roundabout earlier this year. Michael K. McDonald, 62, who lives in the Amelia Villas in the village of Summerhill, was taken into custody on a warrant last week at his home. Following his arrest, the information about the case was unsealed in Sumter County Court. The original arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office indicates that McDonald was involved in a single vehicle crash at about 7 p.m. March 25th at the roundabout on El Camino Real and Buena Vista Boulevard. His gold 2011 Lexus ES350 had crashed into the light pole that was broken into two separate pieces. The vehicle side tire had snapped off the axle and separated. It appeared that McDonald had been drinking. He was transported by ambulance to UF Health, the village's hospital freestanding emergency room at Brownwood. He consented to a blood draw, and the sample was sent to Florida Department of Law Enforcement. In May, Florida Department of Law Enforcement reported back that McDonald had a blood alcohol level of 1.99 on the day of the crash. The warrant was issued, leading McDonald's arrest this past week. The Maryland native remains free on a $1,000 bond. Here's a report on some more building. A new apartment complex will be built across from the Villages. The project will include 288 rental apartments and 198 townhomes for sale as part of a 68.55-acre mixed-use district called Miller Park. It will be located on County Road 466A, across from the village of Fruitland Park. The Orlando-based firm Interim Investments has a contract to buy the property owned by Stephanie Bailey Boys and Patricia Boys. The developer of the project is represented by attorney Tara Tedrow, who earlier this year won approval for a 160-unit housing development from the Lady Lake Commission. Interim Investments is said to be attracted to the location across from the village of Pine Ridge because it is adjacent to the Villages, but not located within the yellow line of the Villages. A Winn-Dixie supermarket is also planned nearby at the corner of County Road 466A and Micro Racetrack Road. A piece of property at Micro Racetrack Road and Lake Ella Road was recently listed for $5.1 million. A Village of Summerhill resident, Hans Jost, got his fourth hole-in-one Saturday, October 22nd at hole number 2 at the Turtle Mound Executive Golf Course. Congratulations, Hans, on your hole-in-one. A nervous driver was arrested after a canine alert on her pickup during a traffic stop on the historic site of the Villages. Margaret Ann Malatz, 52, of Port Orange, was at the wheel of a black Toyota pickup on Monday afternoon when she failed to stop at a stop sign at the intersection of Jason Drive and East Swartz Boulevard in the village of Silver Lake. An officer who spoke with the Illinois native noticed she was extremely nervous and she was frantically explaining the recent encounter she had with a homeowner about taking items on the side of the road. Malatz was asked for her documents and she told the officer she did not have the money to pay for her automobile insurance and it had lapsed. A check with dispatch also revealed that her driver's license has been suspended. A canine unit arrived on the scene and a dog alerted on the vehicle. A search of the vehicle turned up a box that contained a crystal-like substance. A tube was found next to the box, and the tube had the same crystal-like substance that tested positive for the presence of methamphetamine. She was arrested on possession of drug paraphernalia and driving while license suspended. She was booked at Lake County Jail and released after posting a $1,500 bond. An alleged attacker was arrested at a town square in the Villages after a 911 call from a screaming woman. Officers were dispatched at 1:30 a.m. Saturday at 1100 Main Street outside the offices of the Villages Daily Sun, where they detained 48-year-old Clarence Darnell Kitchen of Ocala and spoke with a woman who said she had been attacked by him, according to the arrest report. The woman said she and Kitchen had been drinking when he started choking her to the point at which she was unable to breathe. breathe. When Kitchen was initially approached by police, he appeared to be intoxicated and was uncooperative. He was threatened with a taser and ordered to the ground. The Alabama native was arrested on charges of domestic battery, disorderly intoxication, and resisting arrest. He had suffered an injury to his lip and was transported to the UF Health Villages Hospital. Upon his release, he was taken into custody and booked at the Lake County Jail. He was released after posting a $2,500 bond. The result of a blood test revealing a villager's alcohol level led to his arrest in a crash earlier this year. Brian Allen Levitt, 56, of the Amelia Villas in the village of Summerhill, was arrested last week at his home on a warrant charging him with driving under the influence. The charge stems from a crash which occurred July 22nd in Wildwood. Levitt had failed to stop at a stop sign, and his vehicle struck a Toyota pickup truck which had been southbound on Main Street, according to the arrest report. Levitt was leaving the S&J liquor store at the time of the accident. It appeared he had been drinking. A full plastic pint bottle of Smirnoff vodka was found under his seat. Levitt was transported by ambulance to the Ocala Health ER facility in Trailwinds Village. A blood sample was collected while he was receiving medical treatment. The sample was sent for testing to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The sample was returned August 30th to the Wildwood police officer investigating the crash. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement found that Levitt had a blood level alcohol content of 0.203. A warrant was obtained for his arrest. He remains free on a $500 bond. A villager who has his fearful neighbors on edge has entered a plea in a criminal case. Brian Keith Gessinger, 53, who lives at 7571 Southeast 171st Sun Valley Place in the Ashley Villas, has reportedly shown disturbing behavior that was the subject of discussion earlier this month at a meeting of the Community Development District 4 Board of Supervisors. He entered a plea of not guilty on Wednesday in Marion County Court to a charge of criminal mischief resulting from a bizarre incident at the Eagles Club on County Road 25 in Bellevue. His sister, a resident of Bellevue, posted his bond. It does not appear that Kessinger has obtained legal representation. In addition to the Bellevue Eagles Club incident, Kessinger was arrested at his home after setting a fire September 27th to a box containing some kind of trash, according to the arrest report. Deputies who arrived on the scene were able to put out the fire with a neighbor's garden hose. They detained Kessinger, who had a lighter. Kessinger was arrested on a charge of disturbing the peace and booked at the Marion County Jail. He was released after posting a $2,500 bond. More and more villagers are calling for the abolishment of the anonymous complaint system here in Florida's friendliest hometown. In order to force widow Mary Sanchez to cut down hedges at the back of her premier home in the village of Valle Verde, after more than 20 years to have been the last straw when it comes to anonymous complaints. The anonymous complaint system should be abolished. He said the original intent to preserve harmony in the neighborhood was probably well-intentioned, but there will always be people who are looking to beat the system and cause grief to well-meaning people. I'm not going to read any more of this because I get so sick of reading all these whiny letters about stupid crap. To the editor, this comment is directed to those complaining about the seasonal renters. You do, of course, realize that the renters do not increase the population here. They are taking the place of the homeowners who are not using their home at this time. Obviously, the winter months are going to be more populated, but that has nothing to do with people who rent. It may be more in line with the consequence of visiting guests who would have a direct impact on the square venues. That's sent in by Ann Kremer from the village of Summerhill. Well, you're exactly right, Ann. Well, I think that might be the news for this month or for this week. Patreon members, YouTube members, I've got a couple more of those true or false things I'm going to put out for you, the little shorts. I like doing them. I'm getting a lot of good response about them, so enjoy them. Rest of you, I can encourage you to become a YouTube member. It's only 99 cents a month. Become a Patreon member. The cheapest level there is $2 a month, and it goes up from there. But in both situations, you'll receive things commercial free, and you'll receive some things that YouTube doesn't get. And all that money goes to help the channel. And in the month of December, when we do our big charity drive for the Kids Wish Foundation, everything that I get on my YouTube membership, not the Patreon membership, even though at the end of the year, sometimes I do donate all that to, but I'm not going to guarantee that. But the YouTube membership money that I have in December, all of that will go to the Kids Wish Foundation. So the more members I have, the better it is. Even if you only go in for a couple of months, that'll get it into December, and then we can give all that to the kids to help them out. That being said, I wanted to say, the whole leave of K's in the golf cart. I'll see you on the other side.